With real estate comes cycles. And by knowing that, we understand that we are not stuck.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
A big fat hello to everybody out there having an afternoon kombucha. Time for a quick minisode. I want to talk to you a little bit about cycles today, the ups and downs, of course, of the real estate market and how it affects appraisers. I think the term that comes to mind today is that knowledge is power. When you know things, it allows you and gives you an opportunity to utilize that in a very real way. I want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a great company. Of course, that company being, you named it, Synapse. Synapse, of course, is the company that helps to allow you to make better adjustments to your appraisals. Check it out. Go to spark4appraisers.com. Again, it is spark4appraisers.com. All right, folks, we've talked quite a bit about this over the last little while, I think. But I want to set this up in a little bit of a different fashion than what I've done before. We've talked about the ups and downs of the real estate market. And I think in general, we all understand that real estate is cyclical. By that, meaning it goes up, it goes down, it goes around, and it repeats itself. You have highs, you have lows, you have the in-betweens, the rising and the falling of the tides. But most importantly, I think it's important to understand that real estate continues to cycle, that it repeats itself, that you're not just going to have one high and one low. You're not just going to have one rising tide and one lowering. You're going to have this cycle, meaning it's going to circulate and move around and around and around. Now, to be fair to many of us out there, many of us have not had the experience of being in the appraisal world for very long. Even someone like myself, who has been in this almost 3 decades, and really, if you count the time that I hung out with my pop, with my dad before I became a real estate appraiser, you could definitely say I've been in the world of appraisal for more than 30 years. Now, being a trainee / licensed / certified appraiser, it's been about 27 years. I started in 1996. So do the math. February 1996 specifically is when I first got my trainee's license, and been pretty active in that world for quite a while. This last year, I've slowed down quite a bit. I don't do near the volume that I used to do. I've got other things on my plate, other things that I'm doing. And even then, 30 plus years being in the appraisal world, I can tell you that though I have seen a couple of cycles of real estate, I certainly have not been in this long enough to be an expert. Now, thankfully, I don't have to be in order to have this particular episode today. By the way, if you are on YouTube, hi, welcome. Really glad that you could be with us. I've got 3 cameras set up. It's kind of fun to bounce back and forth between them. If you've not yet joined us on YouTube, I highly recommend that you take a peek. The Appraiser Coach is what you need to type into the YouTube search bar. You will find our channel. Please subscribe. It helps us. And we've had, believe it or not, we went from a couple of hundred subscribers to over a couple of thousands of subscribers in just a couple of weeks. So thank you, all of you who have joined there. Make sure you hit that reminder button. Like this video. It really does help us with our getting the word out to other appraisers. That would be very helpful. But as far as cycles go, as far as the real estate world goes, lots of ups, lots of downs. Right now, I guess, as of this recording, you could say that we are in a down, maybe moving upward cycle. I don't know. That's the crazy thing about real estate, right? We understand the principles, and that's really what I want to talk about today, is the principles of real estate and how they move and why they move. but more importantly, help us to understand that they do move. Now, I know that sounds silly because everyone within the sound of my voice right now knows that the real estate market moves. But I think understanding more poignantly how, for example, local market trends work, how regional variations work, how accurate analysis works with regard to these types of things, that will help us to gain some more confidence in what we do. There's a lot of you, I know this for a fact, that are highly considering leaving the appraisal world because this is a down cycle. And let's be honest, the down cycle comes after a very, not just high, but super high. I've never seen it. I think we hit record-breaking appraisal volume in 2021 and the beginning of 2022. And this became the new norm for us, right? We got used to having so much work that we were turning down work. That's never happened that I know of in the history of appraisers. And consequently, I hate to say it, got a little entitled. We felt like that was kind of the new norm. Even though we knew logically it wasn't, emotionally it felt like it, if you know what I mean. We got up every day not worried about volume. If anything, we were worried about too much volume. What the hell am I going to do? How am I going to keep my clients happy? I can't keep up with all of this. And some of us, hopefully not you, but some of us were working over 40 hours a week, sometimes 60, sometimes 80. Yes, I knew of some that were working 90 to keep up with the volume. They weren't enjoying their evenings. They weren't enjoying their weekends. They weren't taking holidays or vacations, and it was a crazy time. Now, unfortunately, a lot of that money was not saved. I paused there for a second because I said the word unfortunately, and what I wanted to say was a lot of money was made. I knew that wouldn't make a lot of sense until I finished it with, but that money was not saved. And it has put a lot of appraisers in a very challenging and difficult spot right now. I want to talk a little bit about the spot that we're in, but more importantly, about what we can expect coming up to hopefully alleviate some of your fears. First, want to pause, remind you that we're sponsored by a great company. Kyle and Brandon Reich, great people, love them to death, friends of mine, developed an amazing software program that can help you folks to, well, support your adjustments. How important would it be to support your adjustments? Pretty darn important. Check it out by going to spark4appraisers.com. Now, I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but there are companion softwares here, Spark and Synapse. Go to spark4appraisers.com, but make sure you click on the Synapse button to learn more. Again, spark4appraisers.com. Again, it's spark4appraisers.com. Welcome back to the program. I'm enjoying my afternoon brew. If you can see that on YouTube. No, not that kind of brew. But I really, the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, really I fell in love with kombucha. I have at least one a day. And it's just time. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. It's time for my kombucha. Welcome back to the program, everybody. We're talking a little bit about appraisal cycles. The purpose today of this mini-sode is to help alleviate some of your fear. If you understand cycles, if you understand that real estate works in a circular motion, let me give you the cycles that most experts would say are standard. There's 4 of them. Okay, we're going to start with recovery. First, you've got a recovery. Okay, that's a moving upward from the down or the low that you might have been in. Then you've got the next cycle, which is, or the next step in the cycle, which is expansion. Okay, that means that beyond recovery, that you are in the growth mode, the super growth mode, if you were in 2021, 2022. Then you've got hyper supply. Okay, what does hyper supply mean? Well, it means you've got too much. Okay, we saw a lot of that going on in the past. And then you fall into what's called recession. Okay, now many of us would say, okay, we're not in a recession yet, Dustin, but are we? I think the official definition of recession when it comes to real estate, as of this recording, that we have hit those milestones. Okay, so whether you want to use that crazy word recession or not, the truth is we are there, and it is hurting. Appraisers are hurt. Well, here's the thing, folks, and here's the reason I wanted to come on today, and just to help us all understand a little bit better where we're coming from. Okay, and it comes down to this: with real estate comes cycles, and by knowing that, we understand that we are not stuck. Okay, so let's say we are in recession right now. By the way, most recessions, and this is official quantitative numbers, not from Dustin Harris. This is research. Social science will indicate that recessions last approximately 10 to 18 months. Okay, now think about that for just a second. How far into the recession are we? Most appraisers would say, well, my recession started about June-ish, maybe July of 2022. As of this recording, it's been about a year, right? Not quite, but we're getting there. Almost a year before or since that happened. So if recessions last between 10 and 18 months, I don't know, some of you are saying, well, Dustin, hold on a second. That's not an exact science. You can't just mark your calendar, understandably, right? And part of my reasoning today on the podcast is to help us all to understand that these things are not exact science. However, I think that some of us can say, you know what? I think history is something that repeats itself, and history is something that we can learn from. So if recessions last about 10 to 18 months, we should start to move into the next part of the cycle, which of course is the recovery cycle. Now, I will be completely blunt with you, right? That's not all good news, folks. Recoveries sometimes take years, okay? The recession itself historically doesn't last, more than about 18 months. Average again is 10 to 18 months. So let's call it a year. But the recovery side of that could be several years. Now, here's the fun thing. Recession and recovery are not the same. I know. Duh. They both start with R. Recovery, though it may last several years, is a time that you can and will make money as a real estate appraiser. The good news is we are moving quickly, if we're not already, into that step, which means that we should see an uptick in appraisal volume moving forward. Now, today I'm talking specifically, and I should have probably prefaced with this, I'm talking specifically today about the mortgage world, right? We're talking interest rates. We're talking about, the way that real estate moves, mostly on the purchase and refinance side. For those of you who are in the private side, this stuff will still apply, at least to the way that you appraise, but may not necessarily apply, specifically with volume. They are related. They're not exactly the same. In other words, the amount of divorces that happen during a recession are related, but not necessarily related specifically to the interest rates, if that makes sense. If you look and step back and think through the process of the cycle, okay, and I don't want to belabor the point here. You've got recession, you've got recovery, you've got expansion, you've got hypersupply. Okay, we know what that looks like. And then it repeats itself. My good friends, appraisers, those of you who are struggling, I'm hoping to give you some hope today that real estate markets are not static. Real estate markets are cyclical in nature. We have seen some tough times. It will not last, I promise. Hang in there. Now, there's certainly some things you should be doing to expand your business during the recession, but I promise you, it will get better. It already has for many of you. Thank you for joining me today as we talk about real estate cycles and hopefully give you a little bit of power in the form of information. Again, if you have not, oh, by the way, I was going to say, if you've not joined us on YouTube, I highly recommend that you do. Please, please, please subscribe. If you are interested in learning more about what to do when appraisal work is slow, I gave a webinar recently where we talked about the cycles, and we went into details about what to do during each of those cycles. Specifically, what to do during recession. Things that you can do so that you can remain relevant into the future. It's for sale on my website, theappraisercoach.com. Click on products. You will find it. Again, theappraisercoach.com and products. Go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.